What's good, everybody? Is when I come back at y'all another video. So this video, I want to talk about conformity and why the idea of conformity can be your worst enemy. Now, remember, notice how the title video said it can be, not that it will be or it is, but conformity itself can be your worst enemy. Now, when I'm referring to conformity, I'm referring to just following the norm, just following the crowd of people doing whatever the crowd of people are doing. And what you need to realize is when you follow the crowd of people, you're essentially just blending in with everyone, and you'll effectively, because of that, right, you'll effectively get what everyone else is getting. Now, if you're someone that's perfectly fine with living an average life, right, there's nothing wrong with living an average life if that's what you want, if that's what makes you happy, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm not here to be the one to judge, right? Everyone has their own preferences or desires and dreams, right? Like someone may have started from extremely humble beginnings, and for them, living an average life is the dream life for them, right? So I'm not here to judge or knock anyone, but in this video, if you're someone who's striving to live an extraordinary life, wanting to be the best you can be, live life beyond your wildest dreams, and bring out the best version of yourself and get what you feel you deserve out of this life, this is the video for you, right? The reason why conformity can be your worst enemy is because for most people, they just do what everyone else is doing. Think about it, right? From being a kid and going to school, from elementary school all throughout like high school, right? We were always told to listen to the teacher. We were always told to get into single file lines. We were always given instructions, right? We always had to do what we were told in order to get to the next level, to get to the next grade, right? It's like we were told, hey, learn this, study this, do this, right? And that is what progressively got us through school. Then for most people, when they get into the real world, they're told, or when they're growing up, they're told, go get an education, go to school, possibly go to college, and then go get a job, and that'll be your life, right? So that is what's normally ingrained in people's mind, and that is normally the process that people go through, and most people don't ever question it because that's what everyone else around them is doing, and that's what they've been led to believe. Now, once again, there's nothing wrong with that lifestyle if that is your dream, if that is what you actually want and makes you happy, right? However, if you're someone who wants to live an extraordinary life, this isn't necessarily the route for you to take. Now, you can take that for the time being, right? Until you continue building yourself up and building the foundation of what it is that you want to do to then progress into that. But it shouldn't be the end all be all for your entire life, right? When you follow the crowd and do what everyone else is doing, you're effectively going to get what everyone else gets. And that has never been the intention for you. The reason for this is because you were created as your own unique person, right? Even if you were to have an identical twin, you will still have differences with this person, right? There will still be possibly a physical difference between the two of you. And there'll still probably be, even if you look the same, right, and you probably have similar personality, there's still going to be something different with you, right? Each and every person is their own unique person. There has never been a one-to-one perfect carbon copy of you. And there's been billions of people who've lived on this earth prior to you existing, and billions that will continue, and there will never be another copy of you. So you are an individual, unique creature. However, most people don't view themselves that way. Most people don't view themselves as being that valuable because they see that there's 8 billion other people on the planet. And so they think to themselves, oh, I'm just one of 8 billion. But it's not that. You are your own unique person. You can provide so much value to this earth and single-handedly change the world, right? Because you have the ability to create. You have the ability to use your imagination to create something that hasn't been seen before, right? You can really make a difference, and you can change any situation. Right? Like, you can create anything. You can be, do, have anything in this lifetime, right? So understanding that you can be, do, or have anything most people are not aware of that, and most people don't understand that, and most people don't even accept that about themselves. They don't even think it's possible. So if you could be there, have anything, if you truly believe that, then why would you settle for the norm or for average, or settle for whatever everyone else is doing and what everyone else is getting? You wouldn't, right? So that is one of the big issues with conformity, right? It's just most people, they just go to school and get a job, and they do that because that's what they were told. Like, they don't even question it because that's what they see everyone else doing, and so that's what they do, right? And when someone's working in the real world, right, you hear all the time, it's like, get a job, obviously get a credit card, build credit, eventually take out a mortgage on a house, and then get a car, and all the right, like, that's sort of like the American dream, the standard process. But what you need to understand also with that is that when you take out a mortgage, obviously you're taking out a loan from the bank, so you're constantly having to pay off the loan, right? You get a car, I understand for a lot of people they need a vehicle to get to work, but for most people, when they take out a car, they usually don't just buy it, completely entirely, right? Like, they'll usually pay for monthly payments on the car, right, to have access to the vehicle. And then of course you have to pay for insurance and then gas and all these expenses, right? So basically what I'm saying is, in a situation like that, right, like, that's the American dream, to get a house, to get a car, to get all these things. But what people also are not realizing is that they're also creating or essentially investing in liabilities, right? These aren't assets. Like, of course you need a home, you need somewhere to live, right? And a vehicle would ideally help you to get to work. But like, if you're living in that home, like, you're just adding more expenses, right? Like, the way it's set up is, if you just continue conforming and just doing what everyone else is doing blindly, the system was designed to keep people in debt. The system was designed to have people essentially serve as modern day slaves, right? That they're working simply to pay bills. And if you ask people, many people, right, you ask them, hey, why do you work so hard? And many people won't have an answer to it. They will just say, oh, because that's what I'm supposed to do, or that's what I should do, right? But then you can ask them, what's your goal? What's your dream? They might have a dream, right? But it can be a far-fetched dream that they've given up on. Or if you ask them, hey, what's your goal? A lot of people won't have an answer, right? Or they'll say, my goal is to pay bills, right? It's not a fulfilling life to just wake up, to work, to make ends meet, just to pay bills, right? Because you're not a horse. You're not just labor. You're a human being. You're a creator. You can be or have anything you could ever want in this lifetime, right? You have the power to create and use your imagination to really create something great. So you're not labor. But the system is set up that way to have people serve as essentially modern day slaves, working just to pay bills. And most people don't question it because that is the norm that most people follow, right? It's no surprise that for most people, when they get to the age of retirement, say the age of 65, most people don't even have $1,000 to their name by the time they reach retirement, because of that reason, because of how the system has been set up, right? So this is why conformity can be your worst enemy, because if you just blindly follow the crowd, you're simply going to get what everyone else is getting. And majority of us know that most people are struggling, right? That most people say life is hard, that most people struggle to make ends meet, that most people are dissatisfied with their life, they're not happy, that most people are, they go through the whole day of work, and then after work is over, they go to happy hour and get drunk, or they'll just go straight home and just entertain themselves and then repeat the cycle. And then when the week is over, right, and the weekend rolls around, the money that they've earned, they'll spend it on the material thing that's going to make them feel good, whether it's a pair of shoes or a piece of clothing or the new electronic device or something, to take their mind off of the week itself and what they and work to then repeat the cycle, right? And that's not a desirable way to live, right? You deserve to have fun. You deserve to live life happy, right? And sometimes in order to do that, you might have to do things differently, because once again, the majority of people are just doing what they're told. Oftentimes, for most people in standard jobs, they're just doing what they're told. And so when people are told something, oftentimes, or from what they view a position of power, someone higher up, they don't question it, right? When it's coming from someone who they see as authority, they don't question it, they just go with it. And once again, if God, source, creator, whatever you believe in, if they created us to conform, then they would have made us all look the same and be identical. But we're different for that reason. We're different because we're supposed to stand out. We're supposed to do what makes us happy and brings us joy. That's what we were put here on earth. And it's not to conform, but people have gotten so comfortable, right? Because it's easier to conform, because then you won't stand out. So people won't really notice you and you won't be judged and all these things. And if you do decide to stand out, you open yourself up to being judged and criticized and all these things, right? Or it's putting yourself out in public. But you need to understand is everyone is going to have an opinion. Who cares, right? You don't have to lose sleep over, and you don't have to accept someone's opinion as fact. Even if they say it's fact, it doesn't have to be fact, right? Because at the end of the day, it's someone's opinion. And you can decide to give it power or not, right? So I do this video to have you reflect on your own life and to see what you're doing and where you're heading, where things are going. Because think about it, it's like if there's someone who's not doing well in their life as far as like their own happiness and where they want to be as far as career, finances, love life, etc., but that person is giving you advice, like it's a little strange, right? Like you want to do what makes you happy, and that's the goal, right? For most people, they conform because that is the easy route. That is that is what most people do. And so people won't judge you if you decide to take that path. But once again, if you were meant to conform, then we would all look the same as people. But we're not. We all look different. We operate different. We have different preferences. We have different personalities. And that's done on purpose so that we're all unique perspectives, right? So we can all experience variety, diversity, right? Like that makes it fun. If we all decided to conform, then we would all just be the same. And think about it, how society is set up right now too. It's like the people who are at the top financially, like with power, etc., etc., it's easy for them to be up there and stay up there because the majority of people are just going to be average and normal and accept that, right? Very few people are going to decide to do things differently, which is why in this day and age it's actually easy to win. Because if you want to win, right, and live an extraordinary life, right, if you look at the word extraordinary, it's just extraordinary, right? To be extraordinary, you just do the ordinary extra, right? You just decide that you want to do something differently and then decide to pursue that and be persistent at it and be consistent. And eventually, right, wherever it is that you want to go as far as your destination, you'll eventually get there. So I say that conformity can be your worst enemy, because if you're looking to live an extraordinary life and live life beyond your wildest dreams, it would be silly to do what everyone else is doing and expect to get to that place, right? Because you are essentially chasing a new goal, a new dream, a new destination that most people aren't. And sometimes in order to get to that new place, you need to do something differently, or you need to show up as someone different. You need to show up as a better version of yourself, the best version of yourself in order to get there, right? Most people, they don't have any direction. They don't have goals. They just show up and work hard at their job. And then once they get out the job, they just try to entertain themselves rather than educate themselves, right? They entertain themselves. So basically, they're just trying to take their mind off of their life and escape the reality only to repeat it again. But you, as a creator, right, you're constantly going to be on your journey for knowledge and growth, because as you continue growing and learning, you continue expanding your mind. So then you begin to see opportunities that exist everywhere, and you'll begin striving towards what is that you actually want, right? You'll begin investing in yourself more than you do investing in your job, because your job is only going to take you so far. And that is what will eventually separate you, right? If you want to live a grand life, you need to begin doing things differently. You can't just follow what everyone else is doing and say, okay, just get a job, get a mortgage, get a car, get all these things, right? Like you can still do all these things. That's okay. But if you want to live a different life, sometimes it's going to require you to do things differently and operate differently, right? If you're doing something different than what the majority of people are doing, chances are you are in fact on the right path towards where it is that you want to go. Because then if you're doing something differently, then you won't just get the results that everyone else is getting, which is good, right? Because then that can help propel you forward. So I'm just doing this video hopefully to open your eyes, hopefully to, to just have it be food for thought, because it is easy to just walk through life being told what to do rather than just being clear in your mind of the goals and the dreams that you want to go after, and then striving to take action and do things differently, right? Focus on educating yourself rather than just entertaining yourself, because that's what most people do. Most people just talk about the most recent Netflix show or movie that came out, right? People love talking about that, but very few people talk about the new idea, or a new idea that came to their mind, or that new business idea that they want to start, right? Most people don't talk about that. They just talk about the weather and the news and Netflix, right? Like, and then they question why things don't really change for them. It's like, you need to begin operating differently if you want things in your life to change. So conformity can be your worst enemy if you allow it to, and conformity can be your worst enemy if you have big goals, dreams, and aspirations, but you conform to do what everyone else is doing. If you want something differently, you need to break away from that and begin doing things differently, operating differently, so that you can get different results and work towards your goals, your dreams, and desires, so that you can look back at what you've created and realize that you've arrived at a happier, more fulfilling, more abundant life. So that wraps up the video. Enjoy the video. Do leave a like and subscribe. You are on the road to 1 million subscribers, guys. So once again, it's Joel, and I'm out. I'll see you guys for the next video.